Life is full of little problems.
Creep.
Little annoyances. Little irritations.
Police emergency, Sergeant Kirshner. 1 moment.
Little pains. Little setbacks.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
And little disappointments.
Why not?
I don't feel like it. I'll tell you when I feel like it.
This is Alfred.
Life is full of countless small situations that you either learn to live with or you go bananas.
Kenny's the comedian around here.
Is there something the matter with your face?
Is there?
Well, Alfred's always getting beat up.
Fortunately, most of these problems can be solved. Unless, of course, the problem is permanent.
Who got it this time?
I don't know. It's in the other wing.
You could have been killed.
I get shot at every day.
Jules Pfeiffer's first play is now director Alan Arkin's first film.
Every crime has its own pattern of logic.
If everything is so hopeless, well, why do anything?
Okay.
Why get married?
Well, you said you wanted to.
Little Murders, a terrifying comedy, starring Elliot Gould, Marcia Rod, and 3 of the screen's most brilliant actors. Donald Sutherland as the minister.
That of the 200 marriages that I have performed, all but 7 have failed. I beg you feel no shame. Homosexuality is all right. Really it is. It's perfectly all right. These hands told...
Lou Jacoby as the judge, who believes that anyone who can look at life and smile should be locked up.
You come up before me again!
Who's behind this conspiracy? Once again, ask the question who has
And
the most
Alan
game.
Arkin as the detective, who believes there is no law.
A conspiracy of such ominous proportion that we will never, never know the whole story.
Little Murders, a devastating social comment on love.
I think I'm falling in love with you. Alfred!
Involvement.
Who do you think you are? What kind of a man are you?
Motherhood.
Always darkest before the dawn.
Fatherhood.
Lesbians of Venus. Is this what I spend $10,000 a year at graduate school for?
Brotherhood.
You.
And the world we live in.
What is it that these 345 homicides have in common? They have in common 3 things, eh? They have nothing in common.
What have I left to believe in?
We are readying mass arrests.
Witness. Little Murders. It's better than being a victim.
Come and get it!
This was the world of Henry Orient, a world of magnificent music, a world of exciting acclaim. And this was the world of Henry Orient.
I have dreamed of this moment ever since I first heard your voice on the telephone.
I thought you told me your husband didn't suspect anything.
I didn't think he did. But how can you tell what your husband is thinking?
You're a nymph with a sultry voice.
You know, if you're not in a hurry, I'd love to have a cup of coffee.
A world of passionate embraces. And this is the world of 2 junior-sized misses. A world of enchanted moments. A delightful world of new discoveries.
And you really necked? Sure, everybody did. Haven't you yet? Honestly, the way they watch you around, you'd think we were criminals or something.
See what happens when these 2 very different worlds collide in the world of Henry Orient.
You can tell the whole world if you want to that I, Valerie Campbell Boyd, love and adore the great and beautiful and wonderful Henry Orient. And from this minute on, we will devote our whole lives, both day and night, except during homework, to the study of the aforesaid Henry Orient. I have all my notes from the restaurant and the cigarette the waiter gave us. He's not scared.
You'll love every hilarious minute of it as two junior-sized misses invade the world of a king-size nut.
Do you remember everything that you put all of us through the last time you rode? You will not get on that bull.
Well, then what are we gonna do about Cody?
I'm gonna be okay, Mom.
$750,000 for first place. You got a better idea, I'm all ears.
We've got some incredible news. The rodeo legend's gonna compete for the first time in years.
Give me the green light! Joe Wainwright. Three-time world champ. Rides again.
This is gonna be big.
This ain't the senior circuit.
Good luck. You're gonna need it.
Joe Wainwright competing at over 50 years young.
I'm grandfathered in, right? Well, you right about that granddad part. Come on, Joe! Oh! His grandson's sick, and he's got to earn money. That's why he's here. You gotta focus, Joe.
In my seat, I only ask once. That went well.
Yeah, very. Be patient with her. She loves you fiercely.
Can Joe Wainwright keep up?
I'm fine.
Of course you are.
That's a genuine, true legend right there.
Here we go!
Come on, Joe, get in! Get in! Get in!
Hey everyone, I'm Neil McDonough.
I'm Michael T. Williamson.
I'm Reve McDonough, and I play Rose.
I play Charlie Williams.
And I play Joe Wainwright in the new cowboy drama, The Last Rodeo.
We are doing something you've probably never seen a cowboy film do before.
For each ticket you pre-order to The Last Rodeo,
you get entered to win the Last Rodeo giveaway,
which includes a brand new Ford Raptor F-150, a customized RV trailer from Imperial Outdoor,
Sorry, let me unmute myself and start over. Enough of that. Hey, everybody, I'm Liam McEneaney. Welcome to Pop Culture Dumpster. Today we're going to be looking at Jon Avnet's new film, The Last Rodeo, a movie with a Sixth Sense style surprising twist, which is that it is an Angels studio release, which means it is a Christian film. And it is a very sneaky kind of attempt to sneak this kind of movie into the mainstream, which I have to say we will talk about. But I want to welcome, I know Frank was here, but I guess maybe I scared him away. But I'll introduce right now one of my co-hosts for tonight. She's a very funny writer. She's a great actress. She's currently in rehearsals for an off-Broadway play. Give it up for Colleen Werthmann.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Liam.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Glad to be back.
While we wait for Frank, this is the perfect time to ask, what have you been eating this week?
A lot of pizza.
A lot of pizza.
From Fresco Pizza.
Yikes.
Up here in Inwood.
You're going to balloon up to 80 pounds if you keep doing it.
Oatmeal with feta and sriracha.
Okay, we've talked about this before.
Yes.
I can't handle sriracha first thing in the morning.
I can. I love it. I love spicy food in general.
Well, I have a Jewish stomach, so I have a slightly different relationship to spices than you do. Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, we had some Trader Joe's frozen chicken gyoza.
Okay.
Which I boiled in chicken stock, and then I eat with chinkyang black vinegar, soy sauce, and chili crisp.
Right. That sounds amazing. I have not been eating that well this week. No. It's a lot of chicken, but a lot of just very quickly baked chicken because I'm working on a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we also made a chicken salad with carrots and celery.
I had frozen pizza this week, and I would say that that once every few months, and then every few months I have frozen pizza, and I forget. God, what did I have this time? I think I had something that was like the bread was supposed to be self-rising, so like you bake it in the oven and the bread's supposed to rise, but it didn't seem to really work out that way.
It was sort of like a Passover pizza, like unleavened.
No, it was very leavened, but it was leavened out of the box.
Oh.
All right, and speaking of unleavened and leavened, let's also bring to the stage Frank Conniff. How you doing, Frank?
Hey, hi.
Hi,
Great.
Frank.
Hey, Colleen. Great to see both of you. It's been so long since I've seen either of you. It's been literally forever.
It's been a really long time. And I want to point out I'm drinking coffee this evening out of my TV's Frank mug.
Awesome.
Nice.
I get a residual every time you sip. So.
Oh wow. I don't know if I can afford to keep drinking. So we were just talking about what we've been eating this week, Frank. But I do have a question for you. So you're someone who watches, I would say, AMC quite a bit.
Well, you mean Turner Classic Movies, right?
I'm sorry, Turner Classic Movies. What am I?
DMC.
What is this? 1992.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I was a big Bob Dorian, Nick Clooney guy, big time on AMC, but they switched their format
to something that makes money now. So
but they did. We did get Mad Men and Breaking Bad out of them, and Better Call Saul. So some good came of it. Luckily, Turner Classic Movies was still there to carry the torch.
So what would you say you've seen this week that you really enjoyed?
Well, I mean, I haven't on TCM. I'm not sure. It's interesting. On the Criterion Channel, I saw a clip you were showing before we started of Little Murders, the Jules Pfeiffer movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I just watched that the other night on the Criterion Channel, and I saw that movie in the theater when it came out in like 1970, and that movie is foundational to my sense of humor. That's like, it's part of my DNA, that sensibility, that really dark thing, which was very new back at the time. But I really, and watching it again, I thought it really held up well. A lot of really big laughs.
Well, currently the distributor doesn't care if I put it on my YouTube channel, so you can watch it this Friday, the 23rd, at I think 7 p.m.
And then you showed a clip also of which I've watched on Turner Classic Movies, The World of Henry Orient, another great movie.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I saw that, Rafifi, if you know anything about New York comedy, by the way, I'd want to give a shout out to Dan Frankenheimer, says Frank is Steely Dan's biggest fan and the cutest smile in comedy.
Wow. I don't know if those two things go together necessarily. But...
Usually Steely Dan fans are frowning and telling you don't understand their jazz tempos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But before Rafifi was like a big comedy venue, it was one of the last revival houses in Manhattan.
That's right.
And I just walked one day
named after the great film by Jules Dassin.
Yes, with the owner's favorite movie. Mm-hmm. And I walked in one day and bought a ticket for The World of Henry Orient because I liked Peter Sellers, and I kind of fell in love with that movie.
Yeah, the thing about that movie though is that Peter Sellers is in it. It's not really a Peter Sellers movie in the sense of a starring vehicle. He actually has a supporting part in it. The whole movie is about the friendship between the two girls, and it's very fun and very touching, and it also it has Paula Prentice in it, so it can't go wrong.
And it was written by Nunnally Johnson, based
Right.
on an autobiographical novel by his daughter.
Right, yeah, and George Royhill, so it's a really good movie.
Yeah, when I saw George Roy Hill's name pop up on the screen, I knew I was in for a good time.
Yeah.
What about you, Colleen? You discover any good movies this week?
Gosh.
Or TV shows? Or rediscovered something you haven't seen in a while?
I actually saw a couple really great plays.
Okay.
New plays. So
What
I was watching fewer movies this week.
What platform are those on?
Netflix.
Risen platforms on actual stages.
Okay. I've heard of those.
Yes.
What?
Lobster by Cal and Dana, and Ants by Zoe Geltman.
Well, I'd be allergic to lobster, but how was Ant?
Great. Really funny.
And those are both playing in New York right now?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Actually, Lobster just closed last night, but Ants is going for another week or two, I think.
Great.
And what's the play that you're rehearsing right now?
Oh, it's a revival of the great boulevard comedy by Kaufman and Hart called "You Can't Take It With You."
Oh, I love that.
Won the Pulitzer in 1937. Yeah, it's a delightful family comedy. There's actually a pretty good movie of it.
Yeah, the movie is good. It's kind of sort of faithful to the play, but they also really turned it into a Capra film.
Yeah.
And who do you play? You play Harpo? You play?
I play the very prim and proper, high-strung and sort of somewhat miserable mother of the guy who's inviting them to his
Edward Arnold's
fiance's house. And then in Act 3, I play Grand Duchess Olga Katrina, a deposed Russian member of royalty who fled after the Bolsheviks took over.
Oh yeah, that's a very funny part. I'm sure you're great in it.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
And Frank, tell us about the Mads are back.
Okay. We do. We're taking the summer off, but normally we do once a month or once every other month. We Trace Beaulieu from Mystery Science Theater and I take a movie or a bunch of short films and do a live streaming riff of the film, and it's as simple as that. That's all there is to it. And we've been doing it for a few years now. People really dig it, and we charge people to watch it, and people watch it live, and then you can get a download of it. Pretty cool.
I've been showing them on my channel. They're very popular.
Oh, cool.
No, that would be awful. But also you do a live touring show, right? The Mads are back.
We haven't done that in a long time live since before times, pre-pandemic. The pandemic is what made us start doing the digital shows, and the digital shows have been very successful. So we've just kept doing them. And I should kind of build up since Colleen is here and she's a play person, I should puff up my live theater credentials by saying I was recently in a rock opera written and performed by Kevin McDonald from Kids in the Hall called
Oh my God, how cool.
Superstar. We did it at the Soho Playhouse, and Dave Hill was in it, Janine Garofalo, and it was a blast. And it had my two favorite, Colleen, it had my two favorite words for if you're going to ask me to be in a play, and that was on book. The whole thing was with music stands, and but I did sing in it along with Kevin and Janine didn't sing, but Dave Hill did, and it was a blast.
Oh, that sounds super fun.
Yeah,
I have to say, seeing that on seeing you guys going through it on social media gave me a serious case of FOMO. I love living in LA, but I do miss a few things about living in New York, and
yeah.
that's
I feel the same way about LA a lot of times. I see things going on that, damn, I would be there if I was in town.
yeah. But Frank, you would be, if you were in town, you'd be like, well, that's a 40-minute drive away, and then that's in traffic, and then I'm going to be driving tired home, and I could sit at home and watch TV for free. So
I'm that way wherever I am. It takes to get me out of the house. But I found, oddly enough, that leaving the house and doing things can actually be fun sometimes.
Well, if you're going to talk heresy, we're going to end this show. But I do want to talk about. I had a very, very lucky stroke of timing this week, which is I booked Frank for the show, and then a couple of days later, Joe Don Baker died. And I think we can all agree that is just the universe looking out for me.
I wasn't really looking out for Joe Don Baker, though. I have to say.
No, but you know what? I live in a universe that's looking out for me. Your career is kind of tied with Joe Don Baker.
It's a little bit intertwined with him because he was the star of Mitchell, which is one of the two, I would say, the two most iconic Mystery Science Theater episodes. The other being Manos, The Hands of Fate. But Mitchell is the one that is the most quoted, along with Manos, and it's just people have seen it a million times, and for some reason it really caught on, and Joe Don Baker was the star of it. So I am intertwined with him, although I'm not worthy in the sense that he really was a terrific actor who did a lot of great work in his time. And
well, let's watch this for a second.
Here it is, Mitchell, starring Joe Don Baker.
You guys watch Joe Don Baker movies?
Oh, look, just get back to work, temp boy.
Mittens? An action film called Mittens?
Joe Don Baker is Mittens. He's a cop.
Mithril. Oh, wait, it's Mitchell. Oh.
3XR85, a possible TP at 1020 Mapleton Drive. Investigate Lendon.
Our hero, ladies and gentlemen, right there.
My mother doesn't like you.
I don't like your mother.
Why not?
Why not?
No, why not?
No, why not?
Why are you repeating what I say?
Tonight on
Why are you
Crossfire.
repeating what I say?
I'm not.
Well, I'm not.
You are.
Buzz off.
What?
What?
What did he say?
What'd you say?
Did you say something?
You said something. You're lying through your teeth.
You're lying through your teeth.
Buzz off, huh?
Buzz off.
Buzz off, kid!
The inspiration for Cop and a Half.
Give him a half-block head start, then I'm going to mow him over.
Schlitz would listen to me right now, that's for sure.
Well, I wanted to give a taste of the vibe. That last scene is the longest 30 seconds in movie history, I think.
And nothing like a Cop and a Half reference to keep it contemporary.
But the 90s were a different time. The great thing about Cop and a Half was there was a joke from 48 Hours in the trailer. Yeah, this I'm your worst nightmare, an 8-year-old with a badge.
Right.
But I mean, Joe Don Baker was a legendary tough guy actor. He starred in he had his first role was in the Paul Newman prison movie, which of course
Cool Hand Luke, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Cool Hand Luke.
You know who else? You know who else is in Cool Hand Luke? Everybody.
Yeah.
In that prison, everybody like Dennis Hopper and Anthony Zerbe and Harry Dean Stanton and Wayne Rogers from MASH and a lot J.D. Souther from McLeod.
I mean, it's a good thing they locked up all those character actors when they did.
Yeah, I know, but that's a great movie, and there's other movies I would recommend. Or there's a film called The Outfit from the early 70s, a crime film with Robert Duvall. He's in that, and Charlie Varick with Walter Matthau.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other that are escaping my brain at the moment, but
yeah,
he was great.
He was great. Also, he played 2 different roles in 3 James Bond movies.
Right, which I think he might be the only one who's ever done that.
Only one who's ever played a bad guy and a good guy in the James Bond franchise.
Right, yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of take a moment to pay tribute to the passing of like one of those great like just little character actors who you know.
Yeah, and Walking Tall is a good movie too. That was the film that put him on the map. And be sure to watch that one and not the remake with The Rock.
Well, speaking of the 2011 remake of Walking Tall with The Rock, one of the stars of that movie was Neil McDonough, who's also one of the stars of the movie that we're going to talk about this week, which is a movie directed by Jon Avnett called The Last Rodeo. Frank, before you arrived, I said there was a big twist in that movie, and that twist is it's released by Angel Studios, which is a Christian, a heavily evangelical Christian distribution company.
I picked up that vibe a little bit.
It's
not. You know what? I will say that I appreciate it because I have seen like a couple of outright Christian movies, modern outright. The first movie that Trace and I ever riffed as a duo, we were invited to an atheist convention in Memphis, and we did a riff of the movie God's Not Dead, which one of the most reprehensible movies I've ever seen in my life. But and that was like just blatantly, you know, racist and Christian and all that stuff. But this movie, you know, they kept it on the down low a little bit in terms of the, you know, the faith-based. There were a couple of lines and a couple of, but so I did appreciate that they weren't really too heavy-handed with that.
I mean, you know, Colleen, I'm sure you picked up on the same thing. But just to let you know, Angel Studios is also behind the wide release of The King of Kings, which is still running in theaters, and they kind of and at the end of the screener, you could see it during the credits. Like there's a mid-credit scene where Neil McDonough just kind of asks you to pay it forward and buy a ticket that someone can use for the next screening of the movie. So Colleen, what were you? I'm sorry. I was going to throw a question to you, and I opened my mouth and it didn't come out. So let's start over. You know, it's very interesting. Jon Avnett has had a very interesting career so far, and quite varied. And it's a little bit of a surprise that he's taken this turn into the Christian film industry. Although
I just last night watched an episode of Justified that he directed.
So that's
okay. I think there's a big connection from the Justified world because not only was Neil McDonough, Michael T. Williamson played the amazing character Limehouse in season 3 of Justified.
I haven't gotten to that. I'm just up to like the 3rd episode in season 2. It's one of those shows that it's been around forever. Just now catching up with it. It's great.
Right. Well, spoiler
it's a
alert.
fabulous show. I love it. It's very, very writerly.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Turns out that Timothy Oliphant's a badass in that season. But yeah. So Colleen, you were saying, Michael T. And by the way, anytime I see Michael T. Williamson in something, I look him up, and I'm like, holy shit, that was Bubba in Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
I'm sure every single time.
Yeah, I mean, he is a character actor. He's such a shapeshifter, and I thought that his performance was actually the most interesting in the whole film. I mean, it's full of strong actors.
Yeah,
right.
Like, really good cast.
What he's doing with kind of a somewhat thankless role is remarkable.
He really gives a lot of dimension and depth to. And by the way, this could have been a TV movie quality film.
Yeah,
this could have been a bad melodrama.
Yeah,
but you add Jon Avnett, who came in and rewrote the script, So Neil McDonough has apparently been in this Christian filmmaking world for a while now,
which is interesting also because he's super Catholic. He's not evangelical.
He's not evangelical, but he is very very religious.
Yeah, conservative, has 5 kids, and won't do intimate scenes because he's married.
But he's also in all these mainstream projects that are just fun to watch.
Yeah.
He actually studied acting with Mike Pence, and I think that kind of led to his policy of never being in a scene with a woman who isn't his wife.
But the cool thing is, right? So it's like Jon Avnett adds kind of like depth to what is otherwise a pretty formulaic sports film.
Yeah, I mean, you can see every beat coming from a mile away.
It's very formulaic.
Yeah,
because with a sports film, there's three basic plot lines to every sport.
And we should say that this film is about bull riding,
which is, by the way, a movie you don't see a lot of. And Avnet does a really good job of what good sports films should do, which is bring the viewer inside what it's like to be, in this case, a bull rider, right? It's like Rocky's very good at taking you inside the ring. Major League, for being like a kind of a wacky 80s comedy, is kind of the platonic ideal of what a sports movie should be. And with a sports film, there's basically 3 plots that you'll find, and any good sports film will do all 3. One is the underdog story. The other is the old hand who's coming back for one last shot at glory. And the third is the up-and-coming guy who has to learn a lot of lessons and get humbled.
Right. And who is, in this film, is the character, what's his name, Brady?
Yeah.
He's played by the real-life champion bull rider, Dale.
Oh, I didn't know. I did not know that.
Yeah,
at first, I
he's
thought
not a good actor, but like you can tell he's real.
Yeah, at first when I first saw him, and I knew it wasn't a big enough part, but like I thought for like a split second, is that Casey Affleck? he does.
Yeah.
He does have kind of a Casey Affleck vibe to him. But, but this is the first time learning that it's the real Buck and Bronco guy.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to look that up because as soon as I saw him deliver a line, I was like, "This is a rodeo guy."
Yeah,
clearly.
Yeah.
And you kind of can't judge his performance on normal standards of acting.
No, I feel like he was there for real bull riding cred.
Right.
And also he was sort of like the arrogant young guy who was like in conflict with the main character, but they kind of didn't really go all the way with that. He was kind of a dick, but kind of an okay guy. On the other hand, they didn't really go for that conflict. This movie, actually, I don't think it has that much actual conflict in it, but
No, it has stakes, but not necessarily conflict.
Yeah, and also this was a weird thing to me in this movie is that at some point, like, it's publicized that his kid, his grandson, needs money for an operation, and also that whole plot line, as far as sports movies go, that's very like Babe Ruth, I'm gonna hit a home run for you, kid, kind of thing, win one for the Gipper or whatever. But
I just want to jump in here and say we don't want to spoil the ending of a movie that isn't in theaters yet.
Okay, then I won't go there. I'll just say there was a weird. I didn't know you didn't want spoilers, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's a movie.
But I will say that the alien attack really threw me for a loop. It
could have maybe used an alien attack, but
no, but definitely, I mean, you guys are right. There's not a ton of conflict, and the conflict that is there is resolved pretty quickly.
Yeah,
there's a big bar fight, but that kind of just gets resolved immediately. And
it could have been bigger.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I was watching this movie thinking if this movie had been made in the 70s, it would have been a real redneck exploitation film, right?
Yeah.
And it would have had Jerry Reed or someone like that.
Yeah.
And it would have that bar fight would have escalated till there was chase and something blows up, and there's not a lot. There's not a lot of that, and there's not a lot of. And I'm just jumping tracks a little bit. Not a lot of comic relief in this film either.
Zero.
But what there is a lot of fine acting. I mean, Neil McDonough, that guy did
He's good. He's for one thing, he has a perfect face to play a villain, and he has played villains in. There's something like so intense about his face,
Yeah, he's very angular. He's got those icy, like neon blue eyes, and that white hair. And he's very still and very precise.
Yeah,
he's very economical in his
There's
choices.
actually another Jon Avnett film that I've happened to have seen, and because I have basic cable, 88 Minutes with Al Pacino.
Yes.
And he's like the evil, like Hannibal Lecter-esque villain in that, and he's perfect casting for that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also say there's a show called Legends of Tomorrow, which is just a wacky CW superhero show. And it was low rated. It was a cult hit. It ran for like 10 years. And he played a recurring role as a villain. And it was kind of like there's some actors where it just clicks, where I'm like, oh, I like this guy and I've seen him before. And that was the first time I was like, oh, I think I'm a Neil McDonough fan. And I looked him up and I was like, yeah, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff I really liked.
Yeah, he's also in Minority Report. He's like an antagonist for Tom Cruise in that movie.
So, what did you think of his performance? Colleen is an acting expert. She studied with Uta Hagen-Dazs.
I did not.
The ice cream
I
actress.
studied with Win Hanman, though, who is a legendary acting teacher.
But one of the things I liked about his performance in this is he played a guy who kept it all under the skin. All his emotions under the skin. But he played it, I think, in a way that really worked. Like, there's few actors, I think, who can pull that off. Like, I think Clint Eastwood is one of those actors. Where it's just like you can tell what they're feeling, even though there's very little movement.
Yeah. But I will say one thing that was very interesting to me about this film is that there is a lot of stoicism in Neil McDonough's character.
Yeah.
Joe Wainwright. But
he
moves on, and like he and Michael T. Williamson's character, they talk about their friendship in this very especially Michael T. Williamson's character is talking about their journey together. Like he was his guy, quote unquote, in the dirt, like a bullfighter, someone who's in the ring as the bull rider is like getting bucked, to make sure he's safe and okay. And to divert the bull after he throws him off, that kind of stuff, which was very fresh to me. Like it's these older men who are in this incredibly masculine sport, and they're really talking to each other about how they feel and like, trauma and death and stuff like that, and how it had affected each of them. And I thought that was super interesting. And there are moments when they cry, and I thought that was also a really meaningful kind of representation.
I was also ashamed when they did that.
What about you, Frank?
Yeah, the thing is though, addressing what you're saying though, and that was, they were both just really good in those scenes,
Yeah.
But as far as the writing goes, I kind of think like a lot of the stuff they talked about, it seems like that's all the drama in their lives was like in the past,
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking, when they were talking about like him being a drunk and then him being paralyzed and then his being alienated from the, I'm like, maybe maybe I'd like to see that movie.
The screenplay does a little bit suffer from tell, don't show.
Yeah. There's a lot of we hear a lot of backstory, and I don't necessarily mind that. If the current story they're going through is compelling enough, but it felt like, they like this. Maybe this was the sequel, and the earlier movies were more exciting or something. I don't know.
It felt to me like there was maybe supposed to be a flashback structure to the movie, and there just wasn't the money to make it that kind of movie.
That's possible, but
I did look this movie up on IMDb. By the way, the print is like too small. I'm sorry, Mr. Blue Sky. I tried, but the thing is, so it's co-written by Neil McDonough and a guy named Derek Presley, who is an up-and-coming writer-director, and it's produced by Neil McDonough, and they have collaborated on a couple of westerns together. So I've seen one of the westerns they made. It's called Boone, and it suffers from a lot
Boone,
of
Boon.
yes.
Uh-huh.
We're not really reviewing that movie, but not my favorite western. I'll leave it at that. But I will say it suffers, like, you can see where Jon Avnett really came in and cleaned up structure stuff and a lot of like the tell, don't show, because that's kind of a problem that those two have run in together on previous films that they've worked on together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea to level up with a pro like Avnet, especially like someone who his last movie was very interesting.
What was it?
It's The Three Christs, and it's based on a 1964 psychiatric case study called The Three Christs of Ypsilanti, and it's about a psychiatrist at a mental institute who took three guys who believed they were Jesus Christ and made them be roommates, and kind of like hoped that by talking to them.
That's a sitcom, right? Why did they do that? It's a 3-camera sitcom.
Well,
three guys who think they're Jesus live together. That would have been a blockbuster, I think.
The Three Christs a Company. But it's actually, it stars Richard Gere as the psychiatrist, and like Dinklage and someone else Walton Goggins, speaking of Justified.
Oh, what a cast.
It's not a good movie, but it's so interesting. Like basically premiered in Toronto in 2017, and then IFC picked it up in 2020. So that kind of tells you a lot about. But I would say it's worth watching because Jon Avnet is a real pro. Like,
say some other movies that he's done.
Fried Green Tomatoes.
Right.
Never seen it. Sorry.
Pretty good.
He produced The Mighty Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
His company produced The Black Swan.
Black Swan with Natalie Portman.
Yeah, and he's directed a lot of like good TV, Justified, and all right, I'll bring his IMDb up for Mr. Blue Sky since my memory is not the best these days. I used to be really, really good at stalking successful people. Here we go. And I will present.
Okay, I gotta take my glasses off to peer at the screen when you pull it up.
Okay, here we go. Share screen. Right, so like Jon Avnet, it's a lot of
business. Produced Risky Business. Up Close and Personal.
That movie. Up Close and Personal is.
Well, he produced.
Is nuts.
Yeah.
He produced Risky Business. It was his first movie.
Wow.
Like he didn't direct it, but it was his first. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know what? If you don't want to watch Up Close and Personal, although you would want to watch it because Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer are in it, so why wouldn't you watch it? But
right.
There's a really good book about the writing of that movie by John Gregory Dunn, because John Gregory Dunn and Joan Didion did the screenplay for that movie.
Ooh.
And it was a long saga, as the screenplay things can be, and it originally was supposed to be a movie about Jessica Savage, who was a cokehead or whatever, and had like a really bad end, and the book is all about how that just evolved or maybe devolved into just this really bland movie, about fictional characters, but it's very interesting.
He also directed Righteous Kill, which I recommend watching if you are a fan of De Niro and Pacino. It's the only other time they've ever done a movie together. It's not a good movie.
Besides Heat with Michael Mann?
Heat is a classic. Righteous Kill is the other movie that they both appeared in.
It's the B-side.
And that's not to bag on Jon Avnet. It just kind of like was what it was. I've watched it a couple times, so it's definitely worth checking out. Here we go. The Blackcast says, I'm glad you're taking the time to honor the great Mitchell with the even greater TV's Frank.
Oh, God bless you for that.
The Blackcast, by the way, I think we're going to be doing Mission Impossible. We'll be doing that next week on Friday because next weekend is Memorial Day weekend. But I may be promoting this before we have cemented our plans. Weirdly, the studio would not send us a screener.
I bet.
I did ask. But we will have clips.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
I used to be a cater waiter with Charles Parnell.
Really?
Yeah.
And who's Charles Parnell?
He's the super handsome, like sort of middle-aged black guy with white hair now who's been in a bunch of them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's great.
He has like a gorgeous smile.
The most recent Mission Impossible movie, I have to say, was sensational. It was
awesome.
Great. Yeah.
So this is the other aspect of Avnet's career that I find really interesting is he produces short films and documentaries. Mm-hmm. And the other movie he's got coming out this year is a documentary about a double Dutch team.
Ooh.
I think in New York City.
Jazzy
Jumpers.
They work to defend their world championship title from their headquarters bordering a public housing complex.
I'm a little naive, I guess. Double Dutch, that's not like some farting in a car thing, is it? Or
No, it's when you have two jump ropes.
Oh.
And you go.
Okay.
And then jump in and do tricks.
Oh, that's impressive. No, I was thinking of Dutch ovens.
Double Dutch oven. I don't want to be a part of that. But I would see double Jazzy Jumpers, the double Dutch movie.
By the way,
sir, a double Dutch oven movie. Well, there probably is.
That I'm already.
It probably does very well.
I'm already developing the screenplay in my head, and I'll be pitching it next year.
How about The Irishman? I don't know what that. I think we're not going to focus on old movies. Last week.
Oh, that's another De Niro and Pacino movie.
Oh, I forgot.
That's true. Yeah.
Because Pacino plays Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, there you go. There's three of them, and they're all worth watching once.
I love The Irishman. The Irishman, for me, is like a great as an old person. It's a real old person's movie, and I appreciate that.
It's long. It's got a lot of history in it.
Yeah, it's slow. It's that movie. There's something really comforting about that movie to me, which I can't.
By the way, felt very much like an '80s, like a slightly more sophisticated '80s classic sports movie.
Right. Or the phrase TV movie has come up, and it very much has that vibe to it. Like in another time, I don't know the way the industry works now. In another time, this could have been a TV movie on CBS Thursday night or whatever.
Yes, 100%.
Back in the 90s, or everything is different now. But
the ABC Sunday Night Movie.
Yeah, it could have. It could have easily, and maybe that would have been the best way to present it. The best forum for it, but. People are going to end up watching this on TV anyway, so.
But speaking of where it is, actually, this doesn't have anything to do with that. I thought it was really beautifully shot. I thought the bull riding scenes, with all the dirt flying and the sort of hectic kind of cutaways, I thought it was super well done.
Again, I think it's a little bit unfair to compare this to a TV movie, because if this was a CBS, Sunday night presentation or whatever, Monday night movie, it would have starred Willie Nelson, and it would have starred some second-rate actors. And
you know what though? But when I say TV movie though, I don't at all mean that as an insult, because there were a lot of really good TV movies from that era.
The Day After.
Of The Day After, and speaking of sports movies, Brian's Song.
I was just going to say Brian's Song.
Brian's Song, from which I rewatched like a couple of years ago. It's so good, and it has that very no frills TV movie vibe to it, where we're not going to get fancy with the camera work or anything. We're just going to say, but this movie does have fancy camera work in it. So
it's got some gorgeous vistas.
Yeah, it is
the
cinema.
Action stuff is great.
Yeah, but I don't mean TV movie as a disparaging term, and let's not forget Duel and all the Night Stalker with Darren McGavin. I mean, there've been there was like kind of a golden age in the 70s of TV movies.
But also there was Kenny Rogers in The Return of the Gambler. So, but what's interesting, speaking of the visuals, is I think one of the real things that could have been better about this film. I don't want to say it was bad because ultimately I enjoyed this film.
I did too.
This movie made me wish my dad was still around so we could have watched it together. Quite frankly. Because this movie should be coming out around Father's Day in June, because it's a real, you take your grandpa, you take your son, you take your dad, because it's clean. I mean, one of the nice things,
there's no cussing in it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about this being an Angel Studios release is it is family friendly, and there is something to be said in this day and age where, I saw poop jokes in a Smurfs trailer. There's something to be said for maybe I want to take my kid to something that wouldn't embarrass me at some point. But I mean,
so the Double Dutch Oven movie is a no-go. That's what you're saying.
When you look, I don't know if you noticed when you guys started saying that, I ducked out for a second. No, I'm just kidding. Someone said my name backwards and banished me. No, but what's interesting, I think, and is there Neil McDonough's character, Joe Wainwright, is treated heroically from beginning to end. There's a lot of hero shots, beautiful hero shots. The cinematography when it came to Neil McDonough was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and in I wouldn't be surprised if they had a blue screen behind the camera to super make his eyes pop.
Yes. No, you're not.
I want a blue bounce.
Yes, I 100% agree.
I mean, who wouldn't do that with those eyes?
Well, I mean, all right, Colleen, I think your husband might need to be worried a little bit.
He's in the other room. I don't care.
But my point is just, it's like
he just yelled, "Hey!"
There's very, very little of Joe Wainwright looking back.
I'm sorry. Whenever you say Wainwright, because of Sam Wainwright in It's a Wonderful Life, I always have to go, hee-haw. Okay, sorry. We can move on.
You don't have to explain that, Frank. I guarantee nobody watching this is under the age.
Yeah, zero comprehension.
But my point is just, it's a movie where he kind of falls off a mechanical bull twice.
Yeah.
Then everything going forward is badass, and he makes no mistakes, and he beats up men half his age. And there's just a point where it's one of the things that made the movie Rocky so epic was he starts as a down and out dirtbag, someone you almost can root against.
Right.
You just the first almost 30 minutes of that movie is just going through how shitty his life is and how he's incapable of making anything better. And his only way out is boxing because he's just such a lowlife otherwise. He's not a heroic figure until Rocky 2, really. Well, hello. Who's that?
That's Billy, my cat.
Hi, Billy.
Hi, Billy. Oh, yeah.
So that's just my point. It's just this guy's set up as a hero immediately.
Yeah.
And, it almost feels like the second and third act of a movie. And there's no first act where it's this guy is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Which is maybe good for the movie in a sense that they just get right into it. Right? They get into what the story of the film is without. They have no backstory at the beginning. They save all the backstory for later.
Yeah.
Talking about.
But also, I feel is that maybe an Angel Studio kind of typical structure where a good man, a family man is the savior. It's all about family. It's about, having faith and believing that you can do something and, be of service.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I will say this on the film's behalf is that the Neil McDonough, he's the kind of character in other movies he would just come off as an asshole, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
Like if he were like, for instance, in the last season of Yellowstone, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Neil McDonough was on Yellowstone at some point, right, or one of those shows.
I don't know,
but
he's been on everything.
yeah, but if he was in the last season of Yellowstone, he would do a rant about how people who live in cities suck, and and rural American values are the only decent American values. And
right? Those are the real Americans.
The real Americans, and there's none of that in his character in this film at all. And in fact, the film doesn't get into any of that kind of stuff at all, which I appreciate.
I mean, I feel like that's where it's show don't tell. It's like, you're right. Then like nobody ever comes out and says it, but there's a lot of like just people in American flag gear and military guys, like listening to country legend Leanne Womack singing the national anthem. Which
I feel like that was a good get for that movie.
It was a good get for the movie. I still think we're throwing the word legend around a little loosely.
Well, I'm not qualified. For all I know, she
maybe
is a
if you're a
legend.
country music fan, she is a legend.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, well, also, I mean,
she's fine to me.
To me, a legend is like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, or like if you're being contemporary, Reba McEntire.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you're even being more contemporary, Taylor Swift. But again, I didn't think of The Irishman because for some reason my references ended about 1985.
Well, that's 53 years later than Frank's.
But so yeah, I mean that's an excellent point, and you're right. It is kind of the formula of an Angel Studios type release. Like you're talking about Kirk Cameron's Fireman movie, I think.
Right.
Where he's a good man, and his heroic journey is very short.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like he's already a hero. It's just a matter of the world recognizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just give two little shout outs to things I really liked in this film, though.
Okay.
One is the relationship between his daughter and himself, right? Between Neil McDonough's character's daughter, who's
the actress who played her was really good too.
Sarah Jones.
Yeah, terrific. She's done a lot of good stuff, in TV and film. And I liked that they didn't hold back from her being like mad at him and resentful of him.
Yeah.
For the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like she really I think even at the end she hadn't 100%.
6 months after the end of the movie. There's like a 6 month later coda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was great. And I really like the way that they kind of like very subtly revealed why she was so mad at him.
Mm-hmm.
And like they kind of like peeled back the layers of it without kind of like ruining the movie for anyone who wants to watch it.
Like they gave her some agency.
They did. And there's layers to her character. Like she's not like a two-dimensional stand-in for anyone.
She's not she doesn't. I don't know if she was written to be one, but at least in the way the actress plays her, she doesn't come off as like a trad wife type,
Mm-hmm. Quite the opposite. She's a single mom. I mean, she's which in an Angel Studios type production is usually a pathway to disaster.
Mm.
And in this movie, like it's just kind of like she was a sympathetic character in her own right.
Yeah. I also wanted to give a shout out to the makeup crew. Because there are a couple times when they get close-ups on Neil McDonough when he's outside, and you see like what look like decades of sun damage on his face.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just looks like an old rusty, crusty cowboy who's probably going to get skin cancer in like 3 weeks.
That's
and
the
I
sequel.
thought that was like really beautifully done.
I mean, this talking about TV movies, this honestly could have been a 2 or 3 part miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
Like might have been.
Let's be grateful that it wasn't, though.
No, but wait.
So many TV series now are 8-episode versions of what should have been a 2-hour movie. So
Right, and they're padded to high
and
hell.
they're padded like great. And that if you made this into a mini, there's where you would have your flashbacks,
Right?
You know, because that's they love the flashbacks on the 8-hour, you know,
The Thornbirds. But my point is just the movie's also populated with a lot of very interesting minor characters.
Yes,
who are-
Nikisa, the Native American wife of Michael T. Williamson's character,
Right.
is like
Yeah.
so interesting and played by a fabulous actor. I wanted more of her.
Yeah.
or the rodeo rider who hates Joe Wainwright for some reason, which we never discover.
Right.
I honestly would have liked
Wait,
a little
the
more.
dickhead Latino guy who's like,
Yeah.
this is my area. Yeah, what
Yeah.
was his deal?
And who started the fist fight, right?
Right,
It's
he was like additional dickhead guy.
but he was an interesting character, and I liked the way he was portrayed.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of like thing that like if you're given 4 hours or 6 hours to really get into something, that's where you find out who these characters are. I mean, the problem
That's
is
when
that
you explore those D, E, and F stories.
at an hour 55, this movie was stretching my attention span a little bit. I will admit. You know, but ultimately, look, I'm a sucker for sports movies. I'm not gonna lie. I think like a guy like Ron Shelton could have really also killed like writing and directing this kind of movie.
Sure.
You know,
My perfect like conventional mainstream sports movie is Hoosiers.
Oh yeah.
okay. Another one with that, Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
You know,
that one is one that just hits all the notes. It's all cliche. You expect every moment of it, but it's all comforting and enjoyable. And I watch that movie every time it comes on.
My favorite classic sports movie is Ice Castles. Probably because I'm a woman.
I've never seen Ice Castles.
I mean,
explain the figure. Explain it's a figure
It's about this
skating
girl
movie.
who is an ice skater, young, and she's like skating around the rink after her routine, and people are throwing roses on the ice or whatever, and she like somehow her skate hits like a television cable or something, and she has this like crazy fall, and she goes blind. So it's all
Right,
about
and
her
then-
learning to cope with her blindness and whatever. It's also where the song "Don't Cry Out Loud" by Melissa Manchester.
Oh, I never knew
is-
that. I
Yeah.
never knew that.
Yeah, it was like
And
the
that's
song.
is that Robbie Benson? Is that
Robbie
is he-
Benson is in
Yeah.
it, who
He's-
is so fabulous on Severance this season as like the sinister
Yeah,
doctor.
it was great to see him because I worked with Robbie Benson. He's a really good guy. He
Yeah, he's
he
fabulous.
directed the pilot episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah.
If you're watching, you don't know, Frank wrote on I think the entire series, right?
No, not the entire, just the first 4 seasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also the Drew Carey show.
I did.
Oh,
I
nice.
worked on that as well.
I will say like I said, I'm a sucker for sports movies. I could watch Major League One anytime. I think my favorite might be Slapshot. And
that's a great
that's so
movie.
good.
I love that movie. That though, you know what is like, if you're talking about conventional sports movies where it's everything you expect, that is not that movie. That movie is in a class all by itself. And also another George Royhill film.
a George Royhill film, written by a woman, like based
Yes.
on her husband's experience, her husband or her brother played professional hockey.
Yeah.
And so she wrote that movie based on it. To me, anything, the things like there's something comforting about the kind of just tropes of a sports movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's always structured to leave you feeling good.
Yeah.
Like, there's very, very few sports movies that are a bummer. Even The Natural, which kind of like ends with Robert Redford never being able to play baseball again.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good about that.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
can I shout out one more classic feel good sports movie?
Please.
Miracle, starring Kurt Russell. He plays Herb Brooks, the old the one-time University of Minnesota hockey coach who coached the 1980 gold medal winning hockey team at the Olympics.
Oh, cool! Anything with Kurt Russell. I've never seen it, but you had me at Kurt Russell. I'm totally gonna watch that.
They got all real hockey players in it who
Yeah.
actually are doing a pretty good job of acting. How much of them is, how much is it asking of them? Basically to play hockey.
I'm also going to give a shout out to a movie that came out a couple years ago called Sweetwater, and it's about the true story of a kid who played for the Harlem Globetrotters and eventually played for the New York Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a stacked cast of character actors, including Richard Dreyfuss,
Matt Damon.
Are you talking about Matt Damon's in Sweetwater? The basketball movie?
Wait, I'm mixing it up with another movie called
Sweetwater. You're mixed. I think there's another one with Matt Damon called Sweetwater that's about toxic, a town being ruined by toxic.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had a complete brain fart. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's quite all right. But anyway, just my point is just it's produced by one of the producers behind this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another kind of feel good family type film that's not overtly Christian in its themes.
They sort of backload all the Christian stuff for the end.
Well, it's McKelty Williams' character just kind of keeps the faith for Neil McDonough.
Right. But right before Neil McDonough's character does his final ride.
Right.
Right. His ultimate, is he going to win all the money or is it all going to go to hell? He has on a necklace with a crucifix on it. And he shows it to McKelty Williamson's see?
Yeah.
I've been listening to you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because there's a lot of there's a scene where McKelty comforts him with words from the Bible but it's all very quick. It's not
like I said before, they go light on that for a movie like this.
Yeah.
And it's what I meant too about Neil McDonough's character is as we've seen a lot of these tropes in other movies and other movies they go really heavy into stuff that just turns you off completely and
right.
This film has kind of a light touch with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Dude,
it definitely is just sprinkling in a little of the medicine with the sugar.
Yeah,
of the sports movie.
Dude, I'm loving your contributions to the convo. I wish you would change your screen name. I'm sorry. But $1 Million Baby, I especially when you know who he's making fun of. But $1 Million Baby is so I took a so Frank, we haven't talked in a while. One of my pandemic projects was doing college. I never did it the first time around. I kind of got booked at a very young age to do stand-up and never looked back.
Mm-hmm.
So I did community college. I got my associates. Then I got accepted.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Then I got accepted into a very good film school, which I am rounding the corner on finally finishing.
Let's just say that it's USC.
All right. So USC,
number one film school.
I'm more proud of it than they are, I think. But when all this is over, I can talk about it. But it's been a very stressful kind of experience in some ways, and it's not to do with the school, but everything to do with kind of the university, if that makes sense. But anyway, I took a writing sports films class.
Ooh.
And I had to walk out $1 Million Baby because I found the iconic breaking the neck scene too upsetting the first time I watched it. And I had to let my professor know, I'm sorry, I can't watch this movie ever again.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. I mean, that is a very, very upsetting thing that happens in the movie.
Wait, can I just shout out one more sports movie? I, Tanya, about Tanya.
Oh, I love that's a great movie.
I like
that's a really good
that involve
movie.
Ice skates.
I thought it was very
Castles, Miracle, I, Tanya.
I thought I, Tanya was interesting because it basically took the Goodfellas formula and it applied it to another true life story.
Yeah.
And I found it very distracting to watch once I realized what they were doing.
Oh, I didn't. I was into it all the way.
Yeah, that was really good.
Mr. Blue Sky here backs you up on Miracle, by the way.
Great movie.
Cool.
Also, I may be biased because I'm from Minnesota, but they got it so right. Like Kurt Russell's character is listening, like he gets in gets in his car, it's fucking freezing outside, and he's listening to the WCCO farm report.
WCCO, right on.
Yeah.
Now you're bringing me back to my
Which is
Minnesota
like this
days.
AM radio station that is kind of like New York One, or what do you call it? 1010 Wins.
Yeah.
So Age of Squirrel says Hoop Dreams probably doesn't count since it's a documentary, but it's amazing.
It is.
I disagree. That is a real sports film, and it is structured like a sports film, and it really invests you in these kids.
I never saw it.
Oh my God, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's I will say this, it's a really good documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not always a documentary guy, but it really kind of like you kind of forget that you really know how this movie's going to end.
You know, this kind of ties in a little bit of what we were saying before, but when I see on Netflix and I see the word documentary, I get excited unless they have the word series next to it. Documentary series, no, I'm not excited. Documentary, yes.
So, for example, you don't want to watch Chimp Crazy, which has like 6 episodes. You want to see?
No, I like a 2-hour. The most egregious thing ever was it was actually on HBO. Was the one about the vagina tattooing cult or whatever.
NXIVM.
NXIVM.
Mm-hmm.
That just it was like 12 episodes, and then they did a second.
Too many episodes, and
then they did a second. They did a second season. I mean, I'm like, come on.
That one was hella boring.
Yeah, hella boring is right.
I'll also, since we're talking about sports documentaries, I'll also give a shout out. My buddy Aaron directed a doc called "At the Heart of Gold: Inside the USA Gymnastics Scandal."
Ooh.
Oh,
and that I think that's a Netflix. She directed for Netflix and HBO, so I never remember which one to send people to. But I will say, Mr. Blue Sky, I 100% agree. The Real Story of Miracle is amazing too, so it makes it very powerful.
Yeah.
And there's a documentary out about it, and I recommend that too. So anyway, we're going to wrap this up. You know, I'm still working on the format of rating these movies.
Mm-hmm.
This is Pop Culture Dumpster, so. On a scale from 1 hobo looking for people's personal information to 5, I give this a 3.5 hobos.
I give it 3.5 hobos as well.
I would be more cautious and do 3 hobos, possibly 2.5, because you know, listening to you guys talk, you know, there definitely are virtues to this movie. But if I wasn't doing this podcast and it just came on, like I don't know if I would have watched the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's you know, there's a blandness to it that just, you know, if it wasn't my assignment to watch this movie, I don't think I would have watched it. But having watched it though, there were like definite things to praise about it.
See, I definitely would have watched it because I love bull riding.
Really?
And I love Neil McDonough. Yeah. I love watching it on TV.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched a bull riding tournament on TV ever.
I found out one time I Googled, do bull riders wear nut cups? They don't.
They don't. Wow.
Listen, he didn't even wear a helmet. So, you know, those guys are a little bit mucho macho.
That's the subject of my other movie after my Dutch oven movie is going to be called Nut Cup. Right now, I just have the title and the poster. I need to come up with a story.
It's like Tin Cup by Ron what's his face?
Ron Sheldon. Yeah.
Well, I would say, this is definitely a movie I would have waited to watch with my dad if we weren't watching the show. You know, but he's no longer with us, and also he did not like going to the movie theaters to watch movies.
My dad didn't either.
So we would have watched it on a streaming network, but we would have definitely watched it beginning to end and then talked about it for an hour. So, you know, and also again, look, Jon Avnett, I'm a fan. The guy has done amazing work in many different fields. He's won many different awards for what he does. And he took what could have been an ordinary potboiler of a story and elevated the material. And the same with the actors. Neil McDonough, great.
The actors are all great. The actors, I have to say, really make it worth watching.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the name of the guy who played the head of the Rodeo Association.
Oh, Chris McDonald.
Chris McDonald. Every time he was on screen, it was all I could look at.
Yeah. It's
that
like
guy's got real star power for a character actor.
Yeah, and he's in a lot of stuff, and it's kind of like when he showed up, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a real movie. You know what I mean? It's like to see him, it's like, okay, this is legit.
All right, Frank, you see what you started on my show? Richard McCabe says Dutch Oven, the Ethel Merman Ernest Borgnine story.
I'm totally there for that. That movie has to be made.
An Age of Squirrel says, speaking of Slapshot, Rob Zombie, of all people, was slated to direct a biopic about the Broad Street Bullies. Didn't happen for a variety of reasons, but that would have been a crazy movie. I have to say, I am a Rob Zombie fan, music and directing. I don't want to see that. I'm sorry, Age of Squirrel. I appreciate the info. That's one of those movies that could go down in the dustbin of history. So, Colleen, when can people come out if they're in New York City? When can they come out to see you in what's the name of the play?
You Can't Take It With You by George Kaufman and Moss Hart.
Well, when and where can we see that?
It's at the Brooklyn Center for Theater Research in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. And it is the last 2 weekends of May, basically.
Okay. So you guys are competing with the opening of Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. Hopefully those audiences don't overlap too much.
I'm quite sure they don't.
And Frank, you got a lot of books, you got a lot of projects going on. What can we buy and where?
Well, you can buy all my stuff, my books and downloads of the Manzerback shows are all at dumb-industries.com. That's dumb-industries.com. And if you want, I've just started doing audio versions of my books. I did one of my most recent book, The Time Tumblers, and Dark Apnea. I think there's a that's my superhero novel. And then my first book, which is 25 Mystery Science Theater films that changed my life in no way whatsoever. That's coming out on audio very soon.
Nice.
And also you can get hard copies of all my books with me personally autographing them for a personalized autograph for all of them. And also we have there's an ebook version of my latest novel, The Time Tumblers, and there are so many obscure references in that book that I put out an ebook that has Wikipedia links to every obscure show business reference, and we give a percentage of the proceeds to Wikipedia because
nice.
Starting with the word tumblers, which just so you know, were people that performed at the resorts in the Catskills.
Right.
And they're often waiters or other type of servers.
Everyone who was in show business before we were born, including Mel Brooks and everybody, worked as tumblers in the Catskills.
And as for me, I don't have much to plug right now. I just I recorded my first special. I'm laughing, and I'll describe it when I'm ready to plug my special. But I recorded my first special in November, and I just heard from the producer, and it sounds like he's finally getting a distribution deal for it, and it will be out. But I have to talk to him tomorrow because apparently it's not as simple.
Nothing is ever simple in this biz.
Nothing is ever as simple as it could be. All I know is I trust this guy 100% to do right by it. So
good.
The dude, I'm sure. Look, I just signed a contract. So
the dude, what abides?
The dude abides. It's the dude who abides. Okay, and with that, you guys hang out because we're going to play a trailer for next week's movie. So hang out for a couple minutes backstage. I'll say hi to you after the show's over. Okay. For the rest of you, thanks so much for sticking around and watching the show and for being part of the comments and all that good stuff.
Thank you.
Go out, see The Last Rodeo. It comes out May 23rd. Go support films in the theater that aren't always superhero films or big budget franchises. Although, again, next Friday, I'll be talking with Christian Blatt and probably Eric Connor about Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Thank you all.
This can't all be true.
Every word. CIA Black Vault break-in.
Am I reading this correctly? The Kremlin bombing?
In fairness, the bomb was actually meant to kill him. He gassed a security briefing.
That was just 2 months ago.
This explains the handcuffs. It's still not clear why he's here. If we want to bring the world back from the brink, we have to deal with him.
Should he choose to accept?
Smart people on every side are close to panicking.
What exactly is your plan?
Your team has been betrayed, Ethan. All your secrets compromised.
Everything you are, everything you've done, has come to this.
You gave him an aircraft carrier?
Our lives are the sum of our choices. If this was your calling, your destiny, I have no regrets. Neither should you.